Ms. Gosney, ma'am, you have 3 charges pending this afternoon. The most serious of those is a murder charge. If you're convicted of that offense, it carries a prison sentence of 15 years to life in prison and a maximum possible fine of $15,000. You have a felony 3 charge of tampering with evidence. That one, if you are convicted, could add up to another 5 years in prison and a fine of up to another $10,000. Finally, you have a charge of abuse of a corpse. That's a 2nd-degree misdemeanor. That one could add up to another 90 days in jail and a $750 fine if you are convicted. Your case is going to be set for a preliminary hearing next Monday afternoon, March 8th at 1:30. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney and if you qualify financially at your request, the court will appoint one for you and you would talk to that lawyer today. Would you like court-appointed counsel, ma'am?
I don't understand.
You want to talk to a lawyer?
Where's Officer Hoover?
Well, he's not in here right now. What about a
Well,
lawyer?
I have a learning disability, so I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Court's going to go ahead and appoint counsel Chris Atkins on this case. Can you read the statement, please?
Your statement is from Detective Hoover on February 28, 2021. Was assigned a case of a missing 6-year-old child from 507 Crawford Street. As a result of the investigation, was able to speak with the defendant, being the mother of the child. She was read her Miranda warnings and agreed to speak with the detective. The defendant admitted to taking her child to Rush Run Park in Preble County, where she placed him outside of her vehicle. The defendant stated that she was going to leave the child at the park. She told detective after placing the child outside of her vehicle, he attempted to get back into the vehicle and she drove off at a high rate of speed, dragging the child for a distance. The defendant then left the park and returned approximately 30 to 40 minutes later, finding the child in the middle of the parking lot with a head injury. The defendant advised the child was deceased. The defendant stated that she picked the child up, put him back in the vehicle, and drove back to 507 Crawford Street, where she took the child into the house and placed him in an upstairs bedroom. The following day, she drove to the Ohio River and disposed of the child's body into the river.
You live at 507 Crawford Street. How long have you lived there, ma'am?
I just moved there the first.
Where'd you move there from?
Dayton.
Where would you live in Dayton?
At a hotel.
How long had you been living at the hotel?
3 or 4 months.
All right. Where are you from?
Cincinnati.
All right. On the murder charge, court's going to set bond at $1 million, cash surety of property. OR's on the other 2 charges. Ms. Gosney, your case will be back in here next Monday afternoon. You'll be speaking to an attorney this afternoon who can answer some of the questions that you're considering. You understand that, ma'am? All right, that'll be it. Yeah.
James Hamilton, CRA 2100494, charged with tampering with evidence and abuse of authority.
Mr. Hamilton, you have 2 charges pending this afternoon. You have tampering with evidence, which is a felony of the 3rd degree. If you're convicted of that offense, you could be sentenced up to 5 years in prison and fined up to $10,000. You also have a 2nd-degree misdemeanor charge of abuse of a corpse. That one could add up to another 90 days in jail and a $750 fine if you're convicted. Mr. Hamilton, your case is going to be set for a preliminary hearing next Monday afternoon, March 8th at 1:30. You have the right to an attorney if you cannot afford an attorney and if you qualify financially. If you ask for one, the court will appoint one for you and you would talk to that lawyer this afternoon. Would you like to speak to an attorney, sir?
Yes, sir, I would.
Court will appoint Matt Dixon. Can you read the statement, please?
statement is from Detective Hoover on February 28, 2021. He was assigned to investigate a 6-year-old child that had been reported missing. As a result of the investigation, found that the defendant lives at 507 Crawford Street with the child that had been reported missing. Defendant was read his Miranda warnings and agreed to speak with the detective. Defendant admitted to keeping the deceased body of the child in his house at 507 Crawford Street and then disposing of the child's body in the Ohio River.
And sir, you've lived at that Crawford Street address, what, about a month?
Yes, sir.
And according to your co-defendant, you were living at a motel in Dayton before that?
Yes, sir.
And how long were you living there?
About 4 or 5 months, maybe 6.
All right. On the felony charge, court's going to set bond at $100,000 cash surety of property, $5,000 cash surety of property on the use of the corpse. All right, Mr. Hamilton, you'll be filling out this financial affidavit, and you'll speak to your attorney this afternoon. You'll be back here in this court next Monday afternoon at 1:30, all right? That'll be it.
Yes, Brittany.
In this